A week where I got 11 games right and the Packers didn't lose? It's been a good week. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't, I do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. That's right. The road to 100 wins is on the way. Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down and predicting every single game in NFL Week 10. And we got some doozies this week. We also have some god-awful primetime games like the Panthers and Bears. For some reason, we're getting the Jets and Raiders, and we're even getting the Broncos Bills. But maybe that will be good. But besides that, let's go to last week. These are the games that I got right and wrong. I went 11-3 last week, which means I am 84-53 on the season. However, we have a new number one ranked person in the Pick'em League, and that is Chiefs fan number one, who already surpassed 100 games correct, 101-35 on the season. So a big shout out to you. Congratulations. And it just also shows how inferior I am. So let's get started with the Tank Bowl. Thursday night football. You got the Carolina Panthers taking on the Chicago Bears. The Panthers, it was really nice because they got their first win over the Texans, and then this past week happened and that went bye-bye. Bryce Young didn't look so great. Their offense struggled. And again, the Panthers are not a good football team. They're having a lot of struggles, and you'd like to see Bryce Young progress a bit more. And you see those flashes still, but it's very difficult to evaluate him considering he's behind a bad offensive line. They don't really have receivers, and they're just struggling all the way around. Well, they're taking on the Chicago Bears. And honestly, the Bears, they're not going to care if they win or lose this game because either way, they getting both picks.
I'm playing both sides so that I always come out on top.
The Bears, well, they found out once again that Bajan is not the guy, but unfortunately, Justin Fields is doubtful for tomorrow. He was listed as doubtful on the injury report today, so I don't know if he is going to play. And without Justin Fields, maybe the Panthers, who have a pretty good passing defense, will be able to hold up. Now, I will say that the Panthers' running defense is not good, and the Bears are one of the best at running the football. So if the Bears are going to win, they are going to have to utilize it and do it on the ground. That all being said, I am actually going to go with the Panthers here to maybe get the slight upset just because Justin Fields is unlikely to play. Bryce Young, we'll see how he could do against that secondary. But yeah, I'm going Carolina.
Hey, look, Bryce is back and he's drinking mineral water.
Then you got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the New England Patriots. The Colts got a big win last week, looking pretty good. Jim Irsay's dancing in the locker room. And oh, Kenny Moore, after getting that first pick six in that game,
you want to see me do it again?
Vibing. Taking on the Patriots who, listen, there's nothing I can say, Patriots fans. You had your time in the sun. You won all those Super Bowls. And now it's time to be bad. Like, really, really bad. They're the last in the division. They're really not looking good this year. Their offense is a mess. Their defense has some bright spots. But overall, it's just a rough season for you guys. And this is another situation where it's difficult to evaluate the quarterback because the offense is so bad. The O-line's not great. There's not a lot of receivers. And hell, even their run game, which is usually a staple, is not where it usually is. So I'm going to go with the Colts here. Maybe the Pats could sneak off a win because their defense might be able to force some turnovers against Gardner Minshew. But yeah, we'll go with the Colts. And Jim Irsay's going to keep on dancing. Then you got the Houston Texans taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. And all throughout Houston, all you hear right now about C.J. Stroud?
Homero! He is the Messiah!
He is him. C.J. Stroud had a phenomenal game against the Buccaneers. And I'm just really happy for the Texans because for such a long time, their organization really wasn't run that well. On top of that, the Bill O'Brien era. And then on top of that, you had the whole Deshaun Watson crap. And now it seems like they drafted their franchise guy. And I'm just happy for them. And the Texans, listen, we still got half a season to go, but they could sneak into the playoffs if they keep on playing well. They're taking on the Bengals, and Joe Burrow has been looking phenomenal these past few weeks. The defense has been really, really good, and it seems like the Bengals are all the way back. They're in an absolute slaughterhouse of a division in the AFC North, and here, this should be a really good test for the Texans to see like how good of a team are they? They had that loss to the Panthers a couple weeks ago, but now, coming off a big win, how do they stack up against one of the best AFC teams right now in the league? I'm going to go with the Bengals here because I think they have the most momentum out of almost any team in the NFL right now, and it's being played at home. Yeah, I can't pick against Joe Burrow, but let's see CJ Stroud slinging around some more. Following that, you got the New Orleans Saints taking on the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm sure Vikings fans are going to be reminding the Saints about that Minneapolis Miracle.
That was like 8 years ago, asshole.
People don't forget.
These two teams do not like each other, but both these teams had big wins last week. The Saints, Taysom Hill, all of a sudden, 2 weeks in a row, it looks like they have an offense, which is really great. They, I think, will be favorites to win their division from here on out. I did pick them to win the division at the start of the year. Their defense is damn solid, and their offense, if it can keep on clicking like it has the past 2 weeks, they're going to be just fine. Meanwhile, the Vikings, they've gone through the ringer these past few weeks. Kirk Cousins out for the year, unfortunately. They put in Hall. He gets knocked out of the game. And Josh Dobbs, who's been on the team for 5 seconds, comes in, struggles, safety, but then leads them to victory. And I have to say, I hate the purple incarnation of Satan with all my heart, but I do love Josh Dobbs. He's just such an easy guy to root for, and I wish him well. And right now, the Vikings, they have a winning record in a really bad NFC. They could be contending for a playoff spot. However, I do think that the Saints have a much better defense than the Falcons, and because of that, I think that's going to provide a tougher test for Josh Dobbs. So I am going to go with the Saints here, also believing that their offense is going to show up 3 times in a row. But then again, I probably just cursed them, so sorry. Saints win. Maybe. Then you got a Super Bowl 45 rematch between the Green Bay mother-loving Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then I realized that both teams don't have any players from those Super Bowl rosters on their teams currently, and oh god, I'm old. But both these teams coming away with wins last week. The Packers finally snapping that losing streak and beating up on Brett Rippon, who now is off the Rams, beating the Rams. Their defense looked good, but again, it's against a backup QB, so take it with a grain of salt, but still good. And the offense, hey, Packers scored a touchdown in the first half, so I'm all about it. They're going up against the Steelers, who had a win against the Titans, which came down to the wire. And I got to be very honest with you. Besides this being Grossi versus Tree, Super Bowl 45 rematch, this game is probably going to be ugly because these two teams are very, very similar. They get off to really slow starts. Their offenses have not been impressive whatsoever, and they just pull a rabbit out of their hat in the second half. For Kenny Pickett, it's the fourth quarter. So this game, I honestly have no idea who's going to win. The Steelers do have a better defense, but I think the Packers defense should do well against Kenny Pickett. On top of that, how is Jordan Love going to do against that Steelers pass rush with guys like TJ Watt? So this could be a low-scoring, ugly game, lots of penalties, and it doesn't pick up until the fourth quarter. And so because of that, of course, I'm going with the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. I do hope that Jordan Love and that offense look good against the Steelers defense because it'll be a nice test. And if the Packers have any hope of trying to turn it around this season, or at least getting a fair evaluation on Jordan Love, this will be a great test for him. And so, yeah, go Pack go, but I'm nervous. Then you got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Titans have officially listed the Mayo Man, Will Levis, as their QB1. Ryan Tannehill's going to be backing him up, and that makes sense because Will Levis, of course, had the big game, 4 touchdowns in his debut, and he played pretty well against the Steelers, all things considered. Short week on the road, and his offensive line did him no favors. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that Levis is going to find his footing as the season rolls on. Taking on the Buccaneers, and man, Baker Mayfield just watching CJ Stroud lead that game-winning drive. Oof. The Buccaneers, I've said this all year, they're a solid football team. Their defense let them down last week. That was not on Baker Mayfield, but it seems like they can't play complementary football. Either the defense looks really good or the offense looks pretty damn good. And here, I think they're good enough to win their division, but it's going to be tough when they play some real opponents. Now, are the Titans for real? That's a great question. I think Titans fans are still asking that too. I am going to go with the Titans here because I do believe in Levis a bit more. If Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins can be on, the Buccaneers are going to have to figure out what they want to defend. And so because of that, I'm going to roll with the Titans and Mayo Man. Let's see if they can get it done. Then, what is potentially the game of the week? You got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both these teams coming off a bye. Both these teams, they got some issues, but one of them is really happy because they keep on winning games. Looking at you, Jacksonville Jaguars. But you got the 49ers defense, their secondary more specifically, and then you got the Jaguars offense who keeps on turning the ball over. And I feel like on Sunday, they're just going to wait to see who makes the first mistake.
Just you try it.
Oh, I'll try it.
Just you try it.
You'll feel it when I try it.
I'd like to see you have at it.
Would you now?
But the 49ers on a 3-game losing streak really needed that bye. Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, if they're ready to go, that is going to be a big boost to that offense. But they did also get Chase Young, and that pass rush should look better with him on it, which will then make the secondary look better. And the Jaguars, again, longest win streak in the NFL right now. Their defense is playing well, and their offense, we're just waiting for them to take that next step, also stop turning the ball over. Now, I will say, this should be a really fun game being played in Jacksonville, and both these teams kind of need this win. The 49ers, they need to stop their losing streak, and the Jaguars, I think, need to have a win over a contender to be taken a little bit more seriously in the AFC. I am going to go with the 49ers here. I just think with some healthy returns, they are going to be the better football team. But Trevor Lawrence, if they could take advantage of that secondary and limit that pass rush of the 49ers, they 100% could take this game. But I'm rocking with the 49ers. But I'm rooting for you, Glitter Kitties. I'm rooting for you. Following that, you got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Both these teams decimating their opponents. The Browns, they shut out the Cardinals. The Ravens nearly shut out the Seahawks, ran all over them. And the AFC North this year,
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
it's a madhouse. The Browns, Deshaun Watson played pretty well. Their offense is doing enough while their defense is doing the majority of the heavy lifting. And for the Ravens, everything was going right last week. Whether it was the run game, whether it was the defense, they just decimated a really good contender in the Seahawks. And so this game, who the hell knows? Because it seems like the ugliest games are when AFC North participants face off against one another because they just beat the crap out of each other and they're like, hey, we might go smoke these other teams, but it's going to be a 13-9 game for us. And this could go either way. I think the Ravens have a ton of momentum right now, but again, going against that Browns defense, I'll be curious to see if they can establish the run, and we'll see how Lamar Jackson plays. I am going to go with the Ravens just because I think they're playing a little bit better football on both sides. However, I don't discount the Browns defense at all. But yeah, Ravens, let's see if you can get it done. Following that, we got another Bird Bowl. You got the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Both teams losing last week. The Falcons, Arthur Smith is shaving off mustaches, but good God, man, use Bijan Robinson. Just use Bijan Robinson. It shouldn't be that difficult. Starting to build some frustrations a bit in Atlanta, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. But yeah, Atlanta is a frustrating team because they have the talent there, but there's QB questions. That's why Taylor Heineke's playing right now. There's coaching questions, and overall, just the lack of execution. Taking on the Cardinals, and listen, Cardinals fans, good news. Kyler Murray is returning.
I'm back.
Finally, some good news from Arizona after, the whole World Series thing and also how this season's been going. But that Cowboys win was pretty good. The Cardinals are a competitive team. They're not the worst team in football. But getting Kyler Murray back, I think that they have a chance to win some games. Going up against the Falcons, who have been a little wishy-washy lately, I'm actually going to roll with the Cardinals at home. Kyler Murray's return to get a big win. They'll be the top bird this week. And if the Falcons do wind up losing to the Cardinals, I imagine there's going to be some seats that are going to get a little bit warmer. But yeah, Cards, you get the win. Following that, you got the Detroit Lions taking on the LA Chargers. The Lions enjoying a well-deserved bye week, coming back in still ahead of their division, even though, of course, the Vikings and Packers won their games, and they're like, hey, no hope is allowed here. They're taking on the Chargers, who, good God, yeah. The Chargers, they faced the Jets offense on Monday Night Football, and it looked like this. That was horrible. They sacked Zach Wilson 8 times, so kudos to the Chargers defense, because you got to give them some credit there, because you can't just blame all of the terribleness on the Jets offense. So they played well. Justin Herbert didn't even have to do a whole lot. Their special teams actually helping them and not hurting them. But the question still remains, can the Chargers just be a consistent football team? Going up against a well-rested Lions team, that is going to be very, very difficult. I imagine the Lions are going to come out swinging, and I think that they are going to defeat the Chargers here. I think SoFi is going to be filled with a whole lot of light blue, and yeah, I see the kiddies getting this one. Lions win. Then, oh God, why? You got the New Jersey Giants taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Giants, somehow your offense just looks worse and worse every single week.
But imagine how tired we are. Imagine how tired we are of it.
Unfortunately, Daniel Jones is going to be out for the year, and that just sucks, man, because the Giants, it's Tommy DeVito back there, and it's just bad times. To go from being that dark horse team last year, winning a playoff game, to now this is what it's left with. There's so many questions about what's going to happen to your offense. You need receivers, you need offensive line help, you need a quarterback, and yeah, things are just not looking good, and I'm just sorry. Taking on the Cowboys, who, listen, came within a couple inches of winning that game against the Eagles that last drive. The Eagles wanted to give them that game, and they just would not take it. But I got some respect for the Cowboys because they went toe-to-toe with the Eagles. They played a pretty damn solid game, and they came really, really close to achieving victory on the road. So this, I don't even think this is a question. The Cowboys should absolutely destroy the Giants. I don't care who you put back there as quarterback. This is probably going to be a very ugly game, and I'm glad I'm not watching it. Cowboys win. Then you got the Washington Commanders taking on the Seattle Seahawks. I think this could be like a sneaky good game. The Commanders coming away with the win against the Patriots, their first win at Gillette, which is pretty damn cool. Sam Howell is looking pretty damn good, and it's fun just to see a young QB emerge on a team that has potential, but of course is missing some pieces. We'll see what happens with their coaching staff at the end of the year. Of course, they traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat, but still able to get a win, and I just like watching Sam Howell play. Taking on the Seahawks, as we mentioned before, got absolutely decimated. And the Seahawks, they were doing great this season. And then Perna cursed them.
In bird culture, this is considered a dick move.
The Perna curse is real. I've been trying to tell you. The Seahawks just couldn't get anything going. The defense didn't look good, but they were also exhausted. The offense, who has had problems in the red zone, they were just god-awful. Geno struggled. The offensive line didn't do well. And yeah, it was just an all-around terrible performance by the Seahawks. This should be a bit of a bounce-back game, but I will be very honest. The Commanders 1,000,000% could win this game. I think they are good enough to do so. I do hope that the Seahawks defense shows up a little bit more this week. I think the Seahawks should be able to move the ball against this Commanders defense. So being played in Seattle, I'm going to give the Hawks the slight benefit here. But yeah, you better hope that that curse wore off. Then we got another great primetime game, Sunday Night Football. You got the New Jersey Jets taking on the LA Raiders. And I was like, why did they put this game in primetime even before Rodgers got hurt? But then I remembered, Aaron Rodgers is going to see Devontae.
Dude, I totally missed you.
But the Jets, yeah, their offense was pitiful. Their defense is so good. They're a gritty football team, but their offense is just atrocious. O-line is bad. QB play is bad. Breece Hall couldn't get it going against the Chargers. And so on that side of the ball, it's just a black hole. Taking on the Raiders, who had a big win last week. They got rid of Josh McDaniels. Pierce seems to be such a player's coach, and I can only hope that if he has some success, he doesn't go the way of Rich Bisaccia and wind up getting shipped off at the end of the year. Though the Packers could use another coach, maybe. Anyway, the Raiders, big win, and I just felt really happy for Raiders fans because they've deserved it. They had to deal with Josh McDaniels. Nobody was happy about it. And not only did they win, but it seemed like this team is having fun. And so here, this is going to be an interesting matchup. The Jets defense 1,000,000% can stop the offense of the Raiders. And the Raiders defense, I mean, they're probably going to have a field day. Max Crosby is going to be destroying Zach Wilson back there. So being played at home, I am actually going to give the slight edge to the Raiders, though I could see the Jets defense winning this game for them. But the Raiders kind of just have a lot of momentum right now. They have a really good story. They didn't look bad on Sunday. And so maybe all those things together give the Raiders their next win. And then finally, Monday Night Football. You got the Denver Broncos taking on the Buffalo Bills. The Broncos, they had themselves a nice bye week after beating the Chiefs the week prior. Their defense, who had some returning players from injury, looked really, really good. Offense didn't look that great, but it was enough to beat the Chiefs, and hey, that is something. And Perna said on GPS today that maybe the Broncos are looking at a playoff spot.
We're talking about playoff football team. We're talking about a playoff football team, Tom Grossi.
Again, that's not me advocating for significant drug use, but obviously you see the results. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills, yeah, their offense just can't drive down the field like it used to.
Not everybody knows how to do everything. Driving isn't the only thing. Just move your...
And it's just so frustrating because it seems like it's a coaching issue, but James Cook, like, he is a good runner. He's a powerful runner. He doesn't go down easily. Hand him the ball more. Force that ball to Stephon Diggs a little bit more. It just seems like the Bills can't get out of their own way. And I know that they're banged up on defense. Getting Rasul Douglas, again, should help that, but they didn't look that great against the Bengals. Started making it competitive a little bit at the end, but I just don't trust the Bills right now. And if the Broncos defense actually turns out to be for real with those returning players, this could be a problem. However, I'm going to give Buffalo the benefit of the doubt. I picked the Bengals last week because I didn't think the Bills were going to be able to match that momentum. Here, they should beat the Broncos. And if not, yeah, they're in big, big trouble this season. So Buffalo, a lot on the line on Monday night. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Which teams you think are getting the W this week? Let me know. You guys saw me at Tom Grossi Comedy. All social media is seen down below. A big shout and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.